Hey, Podnutzians. Welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode 220. My name is Door to Door Geek. I'm going to be streaming this show live moving forward. I'm going to take periodic breaks during the show to keep my eye on the YouTube chat, the Mattermost server, the Discord server, the IRC server, and any other place I can think of where people might be watching this. And if they want to chat live, we can. The audio listeners catching this after the fact, you should experience no difference in the show whatsoever. All the parts where I'm reading the chat should be silenced out to where you do not hear them. At least that's the plan. Okay, because it's just me right now. We are going to have at least a little bit of breaks every now and then. I'm going to do my best to get all the stuff straightened up ahead of time to allow for as few breaks that I need as necessary. I will say I do not recall any email coming into the show. I've actually been decent about my emails, and I did not see any when I went back and looked. And if you would like to send an email into the show, you can send us an email at podcast@linuxfortherestofus.com, mail at podnutz.com, doorgeek@gmail.com. Any of them, all of them will work. There is links in the notes if you want to shoot me an email directly. Thank you very much, Diver. Okay, as always, the show is going to start like this for the next couple months. Do not forget TECHCON Unplugged, TechConUnplugged.com. If you are interested at all in computer repair business, break fix, servicing, small businesses, residential or enterprise, TechCon Unplugged is your one-stop shop to meet as many people as possible, learn as much as possible, and network with other people in the community with only one goal. The goal is to help each other. If you want to know more about that, just go to techconunplugged.com. We do have discount codes for airfare. It is being held September 20th, 22nd, Grand Rapids, Michigan, basically right at the airport. The entire event is $199, and it does give you access to every session, every talk. All your food is paid for. All your meals are paid for. And on Saturday night, you can take a quick walk down to Dave and Buster's, where that is going to be paid for as well. I want to thank Jeff and Paco for all their work with this event to make sure that this event is done right. And it's going to be by the community for the community. So it should be a really good time. First link I'm getting to, I want to get to fast because this is the kind of thing I do not think a lot of people even think about or thought about, but it's the kind of thing that I honestly feel if Linux is to keep pushing the edge, if Linux is to keep innovating, if Linux is going to keep making everybody else do their due diligence, do their job, do the right thing, and keep improving Linux ecosystem in general, I think this is the kind of thing that needs to be done. This is put on by the Linux Foundation. The Linux Foundation, I believe, is a nonprofit, basically set up to try to maintain the inner workings of the kernel development and all the ecosystem around Linux, how to communicate with OEM manufacturers, how to deal with hardware creators, how to deal with embedded manufacturers, giving them all pathways to communicate back into Linux to try to get some of their own things done. This is basically being sponsored by them. It's called ELSA, ELISA, and it stands for Enabling Linux in Safety Applications. Basically, this is the kind of thing that nobody seems to be talking about, but I think everybody realizes is important. And what that is, as time goes on, more and more and more computer systems will be directly in contact with human beings and be in more of a mission critical place, whether it be power generators, power grids, whether it be hospitals, whether it be any kind of systems like that, we're going to have more, better, smarter hardware and software in direct contact with those people. And this is basically a organization trying to make sure safety is number one. Safety is first. The one thing I can safely say is I'm not a great developer. If I was, I'd be getting paid nonstop for development. I am enough of a developer to understand nothing in a computer is a computer. It's all files. Folders are files. Files are files. The registry is a file. Everything is a file. You can scan, search, all of them. They're just files. There's no mystical, magical sauce going on. They're just computers. But I also know developers will do whatever they need to do to just get something done. Even if it's a passion project, developers have their own idea of what it means to be done. Developers have their own beliefs on what needs to be done next. We need standards to be set, especially when it comes to these kinds of systems where safety needs to be the number one priority. I don't hear Apple doing this. I don't hear Microsoft doing this. I don't hear Facebook doing this. I don't hear IBM doing this. I don't hear anybody talking about this kind of thing. This is the very first time I've heard about it, and this is by the Linux Foundation. So I really do like the idea of this. You can find out more at elisa.tech. That's where they basically go through the technical charter, how to contact them, what's in the news, community, all the normal things that these kinds of sites and services offer. If you're involved in development in embedded Linux, especially, I think this is where it's going to be especially necessary. This is the kind of thing that's going to come to fruition. If you go to their page, you can see they are directly working with ARM, Toyota, automotive grade Linux, United Laboratory, other companies like that. This is a really good thing as far as I can tell. If you are a developer or a company doing development, if you can get in early with this, it's going to be better for you in the long run. This to me is really cool, and I'm really happy to see Linux taking the lead on these kinds of things because I don't see anybody else doing it. Next link here I just wanted to bring up really quick too. It's actually two links back to back. One is on techspot.com. The other one is Phoronix. The game is a-changing. The only constant is change, and everyone's going to have to be aware of this coming forward. There's no doubt companies like NVIDIA, companies like ATI are already very aware of what's going on here. There's also little doubt in my mind that people who are very intimate with video and the difficult nature of all of the video processing going on these computers, that this is inevitable. I think what's going to happen is the graphic landscape as we know it is going to splinter and fray. We're going to have more ways that people are going to have graphics. And basically, Intel started to put in their code branches for discrete GPUs. And I didn't like how everyone keeps mentioning this. Discrete GPUs, and the other website called it DGPUs, basically dedicated graphics. We do have Intel graphics that are built onto the motherboard, but it looks like Intel is going to start making truly discrete graphic cards, which means replaceable and upgradable. I don't expect them to be competitive with the newest of the hotness with the NVIDIAs and with the Radeons, but if we are honest with each other and ourselves and everybody else, 99% of the people out there do not need the best video card. 99% of the people out there don't need even remotely close to the best video card to do whatever they need to do. Computers have been extremely overpowered for what people need now for years. And I personally think we're getting really close on the graphic stack as well as being just really overpowered for a huge percentage of the people's needs. with that said, we all still do have needs. A lot of people still want to see things in 4K. A lot of people still want to see higher end gaming graphics and not just Tetris, even though, Tetris 99 on the Nintendo Switch is friggin' awesome. Um, but they're gonna want their first person shooters. They're gonna want their simulator games and stuff like that. And it looks like Intel will be putting genuine discrete GPUs out sooner rather than later. Um, I will want to get one of these. I don't know if I ever will because I don't know if I ever even have time for gaming. Literally, I looked at my last Nintendo Switch quarterly summary. It said in 4 months I had 3 hours of gaming on it. That's how much time I have towards gaming. But this is the kind of thing where if it is easier for me to run middleware games, maybe not the top tier games, on a smaller, more affordable computer, I might actually have a little bit more time to do that. So this is something I'm very interested in. Competition is the only thing that we as users benefit from. And if there's a third person making these video cards, not just NVIDIA, not just ATI, not just everyone making derivatives of ATI and NVIDIA cards, but if there's a genuine third manufacturer making at least something competitive, we as end users will be the beneficiary by far. And this is the kind of thing I really want to become real. I want it to become popular, and I want it to happen sooner versus than later. But when I looked at them, I want to say they're expecting it to debut in around 2020. So we got time. No reason to rush. No reason to go crazy expecting this to happen like right now, right now, right now. Okay, next thing I want to bring up, we all out there seem to be unbelievably hooked on YouTube content. I will say I listened to a interview, and I'm sorry if this is a repeat. I listened to a interview with a guy who was in jail in Iran for I want to say 9 years. 9 years is a long time. It's a blink of an eye to us because we're out in the free world, but he was in jail for 9 years, and when he came out, he said the internet is no longer the internet. The internet has become TV, where we go to these few silos of information and then it's just endless garbage that just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. Whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or any of the other sites like that, which there isn't very many more, but it's just endless, endless garbage stuff. And once in a while it has video thrown in. I have tried to modestly build up my own library of content. A lot of it being Carl Sagan, James Burke, Crash Course, stuff like that is what I'll say. And of course, some video game movies like King of Kong, Level Up, Space Invaders, some documentaries like Project Code Rush. Man, that was awesome. Of course, Revolution OS, blah, 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 blah. But I'm still using Plex. There are other alternatives out there. Most of them are not intended to be internet accessible. They're only intended to be on your local LAN. And that's one of the things, honestly, that I don't like. I like the idea of having my own personal, curated, locally sourced, homegrown small batches of video content that I can then share with friends and family. So I don't like the idea of having my library only accessible to me and my kids and my wife. So this was one of the ones that came across my radar. I still have not had a chance to really look deep at it. It looks like it should be able to be internet shareable over the public internet. It's called Streama, which it's an okay name. I'm not going to say it's a great name. It's an okay name. They could have did a hell of a lot worse, especially in 2019. I'm going to guess this has actually been around for much longer than I know of. It does have Google Play apps. So I am going to say that this will be then available on the public internet. They basically call it your own personal Netflix. I'm fine with them calling it that, just to convey the message out to people. But I am going to try to have this running in parallel with my Plex server and see how usable this is. Um, I will say, if you out there have either a Plex server or you stand up a Streama server and you need other people remotely to do some testing with it, don't hesitate. Let me know. I'll help everyone out get stuff up and running. I will say there's a lot about this that looks really good to me. The real question is going to be is how does it handle the different video codecs? Or do I have to transcode everything into a very small subset of videos, or can I leave it as what I already have them in? And how is the quality over broadband internet connections? I am really interested to try this out. This again is competition. Plex has done nothing wrong. I have no problem with saying, as far as I know, Plex has done nothing wrong to anybody ever. But if they don't get pressured by anybody else to increase what they're doing, better what they're doing, upgrade what they're doing, then basically they never will, or they'll only do it at their own pace. Services like this hopefully can keep everyone trying to do stuff better. Everything I'm looking at tells me this is a very polished application. So I'm really honestly looking forward to getting this up and running. I hope they can coexist on the same server as my Plex server for at least a short period of time. And I hope it does more than just video. Because one thing I don't like about Plex is it does not do spoken word audio at all. It does want to do audio, but it wants to do music audio. It is hosted on GitHub. Again, it's Streama, Streama. Definitely looks, to be honest, very, very mature, very polished. Going to see if I can get some time to play with that thing here soon. Okay, what we have next, this again, this is 2019, so there's certain things we have to notice. We now, because it's 2019, can basically look at the name of something and directly determine if it's new or not. And what I mean is, typically things that are new have horrible names that nobody can spell and they can't understand, and they have silent letters and everything else, and they're just really poorly named. The more easily it is to hear a name of something and understand how to spell it, the older it generally is in Linux. And my buddy Josh sent me this, and I had to do some Googling, looking it up. And there's two commands on the command line called figlet and toilet. First off, to actually have something called figlet and toilet, and it's actually spelled how it's supposed to be spelled, that should convey to anyone, these are years and years old. And it has the name toilet. I mean, come on. They actually called it toilet. I mean, that's fantastic. Basically what this is a thing, a tool, a command line app that lets you pass text to it. And then it displays it in a bigger, easier to read fashion. Here's the logic. I like having a computer screen open on the side where I can have in big letters a countdown timer or a like clock telling me how long I've been on the air. Like I can look in my Google dashboard and I can see 17 minutes and 2 seconds we've been streaming live. But I want to have something up ahead of me. Basically, I could set a pre-limit of an hour. So when I know if I go over an hour, it's going to start to blink at me and tell me I need to start rolling down. But then I can have next to it the current time and how long we've been going and stuff like that. Using these two applications, Figlet, Figlet, and Toilet, Toilet. And I can never spell toilet right. I always have Google finish it for me. But so this is a way you can take static text, run the command with that static text, and it basically blows it up, looking almost like the old school hackerish BBS looking big ASCII font type of thing. And these are the kind of things that, to be honest, I just absolutely love. Then there's an image down here where they're doing a more colorful way of doing text here at the bottom. And this is the kind of stuff where I really do like, because it can allow you to better personalize what things look like on the command line. So I cannot encourage people enough. Toilet and Figlet. And I just got to say, Toilet and Figlet. Those are great names. I'm sorry. I just think they are. One more here real quick. This one's called backbox.org, backbox.org. We've all heard of Cali. Trust me, I know Cali. Cali's really important. Cali's been around for a long time. Cali's silly powerful. Cali's crazy useful. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, I know that. But I also know you're not supposed to have Cali directly installed onto hardware and use it as your daily driver. They tell you not to do that. Black Box seems like it's trying to more fill the need of desktop-like usage, but also be a very security-minded distribution. There's no doubt in my mind, Kali is the security distribution, but if you're not an expert, you don't need the cabinet filled with 35,000 tools to get stuff done. If you're not an expert, all you need is the little toolbox. You open it up with like 20 tools in it, and you can probably do everything you need to do. That's the way I look at this, backbox.org. It looks really, really polished is what I'm going to say. And it's basically a security-minded penetration testing distribution that you can have installed as a full-time desktop. I encourage people, if you want to get into Linux, and if you want to make money in Linux, there is endless, nonstop money in security. There's no getting around it. I'm not kidding. I'm not playing games. I'm not trying to be funny. There's endless money in security in Linux. A lot of experts said by the end of 2020, there's going to be easily 30,000 jobs in the United States that are not being filled, where it's nothing more than security expertise, where it is needed. We need more security people. If you like money, security is the place to be. Backbox.org to me looks like a really good start to at least get your feet wet with security, with penetration testing. And they do have a community aspect basically built right into the distro, where it looks like in a very few number of clicks, you can basically find help, find assistance, find guidance on how to do certain tests better is what I will say. And that's the one thing that I think Kali extremely lacks is community. If you want to do anything or learn anything about Kali, you have to hop out of it and do a Google search, go to a forum, go to YouTube and try to find stuff there, where with Backbox, it looks like it's basically built in to the distribution itself. The next link, honestly, I want to shoot this link actually to Going Linux podcast, Larry and Bill. They had a guy write in about his hard drive basically not being bootable after a certain amount of time because his hard drive, or his boot drive more particular, was getting filled up. I'm one of the guys that sent back feedback to them saying, here's how I take care of it. I always run sudo apt update && upgrade && dist upgrade && auto remove && and auto clean. I run them all the time. I did on all my systems before I went live, because that's what I do. This, though, was very interesting, and I'm wagging my finger because this is the kind of thing I want to remember. I'm not, but I want to remember this. Okay, you can avoid a full boot partition on Ubuntu. This was literally published earlier this month, February 6th, by Daniel McCarney. Wouldn't shock me if he listened to Going in Linux. Okay, this is it. I had no idea this even existed, but basically built into Ubuntu, and it looks like it's built in probably to Debian as well. If you go into your etc/apt/app.config.d/ and then they have it in 10 periodic file. They basically have inside the file where it says apt : periodic : auto clean interval equals I'm sorry, auto clean interval space, um, double quote, number, double quote, semicolon, finish the line kind of thing. So we're basically every 7 days, it's going to automatically clean his boot partition. This is genius. This is simply genius. Now, this is the kind of thing where Ubuntu and Debian and a lot of these distributions completely fail. A, Ubuntu should not be installing anything without explicit opt-in or opt-out consent to the end user. Right now, you launch any Ubuntu, you install it, it wants to install what it calls security updates by default without the user knowing. I understand why they do that, but as an admin, I want the choice to say, no, let me do that. This is the other thing I wish they would give as an option. Would you like your kernels cleaned after X number of days? To the newest of the newest of the newest user, you could have this by default selected to 30. You don't have to do it 7 days or 10 days. You can say 30 days. And the logic being, if the user's having issue for 30 straight days and doesn't fix it, and this only increases his issue and makes it worse, it was going to happen anyway. Okay. His boot drive was going to fill up anyway. So I am a big fan of this. I really like this. Daryl McCarney, thank you very much for at least documenting this, writing this on a page with a really bad Netflix ad on it that won't stop looping and it's giving me a headache. But /etc/app/app.conf.d/10 periodic. Really, really cool. I'm going to guess and say you don't need periodic installed. I'm going to guess it's basically just a built-in part that no one uses, is what I'm going to guess. This is really, really good, but it's clearly documented on dev.to. The link will be in the notes again. This is, I think, really cool. I don't think enough people know about it, and I think more people do need to know about it. This next one is getting really close to getting me to do something. I do not have any Google Home in my house, no Amazon Alexa, no Cortanas, no Siris, no Google Home Hubs, no Mycroft, even though 90% of the people I know who have a Minecraft say how it doesn't work at all. I have none of them in my house. My phone spies on me enough. I don't need anything else spy on me right now. But this is called Leon. Leon. First off, it's a very basic name. It is Leon over at GitHub, and it's Leon-AI. Basically, this is your open source personal assistant. Now, I got to make sure, okay, YouTube is muted. The YouTube video, I don't think shows it enough justice. It basically just shows you a picture of what the default interface looks like. Very clean looking, very like TV friendly or tablet friendly interface where he can be voice activated, Leon, and you can ask him what looks like very human readable questions. Like, who are you? What do you think of Siri? Like those kinds of basic questions. And he answers in both text and audio. And the one thing that really caught my eye about this, besides it being completely open sourced, is that you can take this offline to protect your privacy. Okay, that's what I want. I like the idea of having a personal assistant, in air quotes, where I can enable or disable features. I can enable or disable network connectivity. Like if I wanted to get updated, I can enable it and then get the update and then again disable it and have it do things on my home network, answer things without fear that, you know, other people are going to easily be snooping in on my conversations. So this is really close. I'm going to try to do more research into this. I will say anytime I see something needs Node.js and the Node package manager, it does scare me a little bit. I would say the last 8 out of 10 things or like 11 out of the last 13 things I've installed on ARM systems or x86 systems that involve Node.js haven't worked. The installs just won't finish, and it's because um, you have to picture um, Node.js to me is like the wind, and you're a sniper trying to hit something 3 miles away. And in those 3 miles, you could have turbulence, you could have wind that you cannot foresee. The wind is the ever-changing code stack of Node.js. The wind is the ever-changing Node package manager versions. And it seems like once in a while, when I decide to lean over, pull out my 50 cal, which I don't have any guns, but pull out the 50 cal, and I try to shoot at a target, 3 miles down range, Node.js has changed since what I'm reading has been documented. Thus, I pull the trigger, I shoot, and I don't come close to hitting what I'm supposed to be hitting, even though I'm following the tutorial exactly word for word. It's just the code base has changed, the configurations have changed, the packages have changed, and I just didn't do it like quick enough kind of thing. So whenever I see Node.js and Node Package Manager, I get a little worried, is what I'm going to say. And I'm sure it's a me thing. I'm sure it's not a them thing. I'm sure they know what they're doing. I hope, kind of thing. But there also is a way you can do this, I believe, in a very quicker way via a container. Docker, I do believe that there is at least one Docker out there where I should be able to install this in air quotes in a very short number of clicks. I would much rather have a full-blown installation on my hands, but I'm gonna have to try to at least do this in a virtual machine first to make sure I don't mess anything up. But really easy. Git clone. So you have to install Git. You basically just clone it. CD leon npm space install, and then when you use it, npm run check, npm run build, and npm start, and it should be up and running. I'm going to also see if I can find more YouTube videos showing some of the functionality with this. But I will say again that this is the kind of thing that I want. I want to be the administrator of my digital assistant, of my voice-activated assistant, of my assistant that can talk back to me. I want root on that thing. I don't want that thing to have root on me. Okay? Somebody's always going to be the primary and someone's always going to be the secondary. My logic is you have a Google Home in your house, you have a Alexa, you have an Echo, you have a Cortana, you have a Siri, you have a Mycroft, even a Mycroft. It is the primary, and you as the user are the secondary. I do believe with the Mycroft, there is ways you can go in and do a hell of a lot more than any of the other platforms, but as far as I know, none of that code has been truly independently audited, and literally 8 out of 10 people I know, because I know at least 30 people with a Mycroft, almost 8 out of 10 of them say the damn thing just doesn't work at all. At least with this, if I install it and it doesn't work, I'm only out a little bit of time. I'm not out money. But it's also on GitHub, and it has been updated as recently as a day ago, 11 days ago, 6 days ago. So this thing is in truly active development. Again, Leon-AI, Leon-AI. I definitely encourage people to check it out. And if you've had success with this or you know about this, I really hope that you let me know how it worked for you and what you thought about it. And that's about taking back a little bit of control, a little bit of sanity from other ecosystems and bringing them into your own. Unfortunately, it also comes with administration responsibilities, which I'm okay with. I don't watch TV for 6 hours a day. I don't watch movies for 6 hours a day. I work, I come home, I take care of the wife, I take care of the kids, I clean the house, I cook, I do the laundry, I do whatever I can to make sure they're satisfied. And then when they're all in bed, I start drinking and I work on computer stuff. And this is the kind of thing where I can have time to do as a administrator. And here's another one. This one definitely caught my eye. And this one is called Isotope Mail. Isotope Mail. The only way I can describe this is we've all seen round cube, squirrel mail, stuff like that. That's what this is kind of like, except it's a little bit different. This looks like the kind of tool I can hypothetically install on like a DigitalOcean droplet, let's say, install it on that DigitalOcean droplet, and then basically have a web gateway where I can basically log in securely to that web gateway and then have a web email client right there. So hypothetically, this can be like a step one in getting away from a Gmail, getting away from a Yahoo Mail, getting away from a 365, getting away from your ISP email provider, and you could basically create a layer of abstraction between all those services and your interface to the email. So this is just an email client. This is not the actual email server on the back end. So you can install this client into one place, make your passwords on those other systems incredibly complex, 60 characters, 80 characters if they let you, and then just have one password on your isotope mail and have all of that contacting those other sources on the back end. If you go to github.com, again, github.com isotope mail, they do have like a really a good looking, it's like an animated GIF. It's not even a full movie where they're showing you all the terminal commands, setting up the Docker, initiating it, running it, and then launching the actual client. This really got really close to making me install it again as well. I do like the idea of having a secure server inside my own network running this kind of infrastructure up, and then basically VPNing into my network to access my email. This to me is the kind of first step that I think we all need to take back our email privileges, our email rights, our email ownerships back away from these companies to where we actually do it. We actually control, we actually maintain our own email client. I've been using Thunderbird on my mini computer that I'm taking back and forth to work and on my main rig. To me, that's like a step one of just getting a little bit away from those interfaces to those web services for those companies that I'm really not completely comfortable with using. I am using more of the podnutz.com mail, aka mail that I actually own and pay for. And I'm having decent success with it, is what I'm going to say. This to me is super interesting. It's under the Apache 2.0 license, which I'm sure is a fine license, is what I'm going to say. But these are the kinds of tools that I want to see people make just a little bit less friction involved to get it set up and running. And I can see a lot more people jumping on wanting a server like this. This is not as updated as what I'm going to say. If I come to their main GitHub page, I can see 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 6 months ago, 17 days ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 25 days ago. So it's at least being updated. It's not crazily updated. Maybe they don't need an amount of crazy updates. But there's basically just one contributor on this with 385 commits. So this is the kind of thing where if I do download, I do install, I'm going to have to let that one guy know that I'm thankful and try to kick him a couple shekels his way. But the web is now becoming the number one interface for all kinds of administration, all kinds of management. This one definitely caught my eye only because of my mini PC needs. I always have at least 2 or 3 mini computers running around me at all time. Raspberry Pi, Banana Pi Pro, Rock 64, Rock Pro 64, Odroid XU4, Raspberry Pi Zero. It just keeps going on and on and on and on. And I like the idea of having a central management on those interfaces whenever possible, to where I don't have to log into everything perfectly to see everything going on. This is like a one-stop central console to where you could have basically a cockpit to where you can look at all of the different computers on your network, check out deep looking into these separate computers, whether it be what kind of VMs are running on them, what kind of containers are running on them, what does the storage look like, what does the networking look like, what do the logs look like, how is the SE Linux going, what kind of applications are up and running. This to me looks very, very polished for what I was expecting. I'm not going to say that this is a uh, orchestration thing to take on any other huge named one, but I will say if you're used to things like Webmin, and I've used Webmin again here not that long ago, this does look a hell of a lot more polished than Webmin. Um, Again, really, really good looking tool, really solid looking tool, really flexible looking tool is what I'm going to say. And it has a lot of like easy enabling of graphs, colorized graphs, so you can easily just jump through things and just take real quick glances to make sure stuff is up and running and it's up and running correctly. This is the kind of thing I really would like to have on a digital frame by my door when I come downstairs, just so I can quickly glance at everything. Is everything running okay? Yes, it looks like it's running good. Then move on. Last thing I'm going to talk about is about taking control back, being onerous to your own ecosystem and firmware running on all your thing. And this is really nothing more than a pipe dream, is the way I'm going to put it, because this means well. This is the kind of thing I think everybody would like to see become real. People would like to have happen, but I don't know. Okay. This is called Post-Market OS, a real Linux distribution for phones and other mobile devices. And then down here, alpha versions, calls do not work, etc. Only suitable for hackers. Okay, here's the gimmick. Phones are not open. No phone hardware is open. Every phone for the last 4 to 6 years has had GPUs built in with the CPU. And the radio antennas are basically very close to the CPU as well. You need strict binary blobs running to have all that stuff usable and accessible. And there's hidden discrete operating systems running on those boards that you as the end user never see. Even if you're running iOS, even if you're running a BlackBerry, even if you're running an Android device, it doesn't matter. There's a small operating system doing all of the back-end BIOS-like communications between all the different things, because that's how it is. So if you want to load a Linux on top of those operating systems, Linux does not know how to communicate with those radio antennas. Okay. So there's, the basic data stream, some of it is figured out on some of the devices, but to actually do calls on any Linux on any phone that I've ever seen is not possible. Replicant was the last thing that really tried to do this. Replicant was a true open source version of Android, basically. But here's the gimmick. It only worked on a very small number of phones, because only a small number of phones were they actually able to get all of the source code to. The last popular one, I want to say, was the Nexus 5, which was at least 3-4 years ago. So I love the idea of this post-market OS. I love the idea of having Linux on my phone. I love the idea of having root on my phone. I love the idea of knowing what's going on my phone. But I might be stupid, but I ain't no fool. And I'm not holding my breath waiting for this thing to become real, usable on all devices. It might. For all I know, tomorrow it's going to be available on my device to install and use as a phone. But I'm most assuredly not going to hold my breath. Even though they tout it works on over 100 devices, it does not make a call or receive a call on a single device. Okay. So I don't care if it's booting on 100 devices, unless you have literally a secondary device that you don't care about getting calls on, and you just want to use it as like a pocket tablet, if you will. Then yeah, cool. We can do this. This is the kind of thing I'm going to keep and keep keep around, keep bookmarks on, keep tallies on. And yes, what a surprise. I just scrolled down and what a surprise. The two devices that they mention are the Google Nexus 5. The Nexus 5 was the last device that actually had open code available to it. If you remember, this is the one that Verizon would not allow on their network at first because it meant they had to give up some of their code back to them. They ended up doing it without a fight. And then the Nokia N900, which was originally a Linux phone that was sold. So it doesn't shock me that these are two devices that this will work on because they already had Linux working on them just fine. Ubuntu Touch gave up the ghost, left us all high and dry. I really hope Post Market OS is able to pick up where other people left off and other people dropped off and other people dropped us off on. I really hope they are able to pick up the pieces. I really hope they are able to figure out how to do this, and I really hope they can do it. We also have Pine 64 people also coming out here very shortly with a dev phone that's going to be running nothing but KDE Plasma as a phone type operating system. I don't know who's going to end up doing this right the first time. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it done right at all, but I like seeing other people try it. Hopefully they are a little bit competitive with each other, and at the same time, I hope they communicate at least once in a while with the other teams to try to get insight and get progress and see if other people can help, figure out some of these things. Okay, we do have a link in here from the notes. openalpr.com. Cannot say I ever heard of that one before. Well, this looks a lot like the whatever their framework is for this website. It's the exact same thing as the Armbian website, and I can't remember what they used, but I do remember hearing about it. Okay, on-premises ALPR, OpenALPR, open source automatic license plate recognition library written in C++. Well, none of this matters. They can do all the work they want to in this, and it's not going to matter. Every state in the next couple of years are going over to digital license plates, so everything they do is going to be thrown out and useless. California already started doing it. This year alone, we're going to have 5 states start with the digital license frames plates. So hypothetically, I'm driving somewhere. I know somebody's going to be able to have one of these things set up. I can simply hit a button. I'm going to have the availability at a fee to have custom information display on my license plate for at least some length in time. The gimmick is whenever a cop wants to see the plate, he'll be able to point a magical, mystical gun at my car, hit a button, and it will always reveal the license plate number then and there. But they don't even need to do that because they're already communicating up with satellites. So the idea of optical character recognition on license plate, it's fine, it's dandy, but in no time at all, it's going to be deemed useless. And I don't see what's so hard about it anyway. It's just a license plate. It's very standard text. They have to meet certain criteria from state police to have a certain amount of contrast, certain amount of letter sizes, certain amounts of letters and numbers not on tags. So yeah, I don't know how useful this will be or how long this will be useful, but I like it's the kind of thing I wouldn't bank on. And if I was writing code for this, I'd jump and I would start to write code on something else. Yeah, because the digital e-reader, e-ink type license plates are coming very, very quickly. If anyone wants to send them an email in, do not forget podcast@linuxfortherestofus.com. You can shoot me an email directly at mail@podnutz.com, or you can shoot me an email at doorgeek@gmail.com. Any and all links mentioned will be in the notes. I definitely encourage people to go check out the notes. How long have we been going on? Oh, we've been going on for 15 minutes. That's plenty. I did hear that at least one person was at least a little bit upset at the amount of griping and bitterness they heard in at least one of the last Linux for the rest of us. And I'll say you complaining to somebody else is equally bad. If you want to complain about the show being bitter, complain to the person doing it and not just out in the open where it doesn't mean anything and it actually makes you sound even more bitter than me. I will say I'm bitter because I have very high standards I want Linux to adhere to. I have very high standards I want the Linux ecosystem to adhere to. I have very high standards I expect Linux podcasters to adhere to. I have very high standards that I want podcast listeners to adhere to. If I say something wrong, you let me know. If I say something inaccurate, you let me know. I also demand you do the same to other shows out there. If you're listening to somebody and you know for a fact they say something wrong, we as a community have to self-regulate. We as a community have to keep everybody in check. We as a community have to make sure that we all stay the straight and narrow. Remember, the very first link that I talked about was about enabling things safely and securely. It's Linux keeping check of Linux. If we let other people out there misrepresent Linux, misrepresent the community, misrepresent the listenership kind of thing, then we do a disservice not only to ourselves and each other and the ecosystem, we do a disservice onto anybody coming across Linux as a new user. We, number one, have to first and foremost support those who support us. We have to be open to communications. We have to be open for support. We have to be open to ask questions, which means we also have to be open to criticize each other openly and take it as an adult. This is not perfection. This is life. We have to be willing to communicate our shortcomings and things that we think that we're good at. Now, number one thing, I definitely encourage everyone out there, number one thing to not forget, if you do not have root, you do not know who does. I thank everyone for coming out. I thank everyone for watching. I thank everyone for all their support. We'll talk to everyone again real soon.